Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining AWS webinar session. Today topic, manage your infrastructure as code on AWS. We will begin with Sahad, the IT Enterprise Infra and Security Manager in ITEE, who will begin with a short introduction. Then Darko, the Senior Technology Advocate in AWS, who will run it throughout the session. We hope we will provide you all the information required, and you can go to the Q&A button on the left. We will answer them at the end of the session. Sahad, over to you.
Hello. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for being today to attending this very valuable Amazon event. And let me introduce our speaker, Mr. Darkos, one of the very senior technology advocate in the cloud computing. Mr. Darkos having very variety of the experience and well-skilled person in the cloud computing. So on behalf of IT admin panel, I would like to welcoming Mr. Darkos for today's session. And also we have with us Amazon Territory Manager, Mr. Sidhu, who helped us lots for organizing this event for today for us. On behalf of IT admin panel and all of us attendees, I would like to welcome Mr. Sidhu for today's great event. And also Ragda, who was the marketing specialist who arranged all this event in the back end. We are on behalf of ITE, I'm welcoming Ragda as well today's session. And as we are all waiting for to see great session from Mr. Darkos, let's watch it carefully, and I kindly requesting you all to pay clear attention to today's event, and let us utilize this 1 hour session, which will help us for moving forward. And especially today's situation, we have requested Amazon to do this for us, to remote solution and work from home. So we hope it will be very useful session, and let us watch it. Thank you very much. And now I'm handing over to Mr. Darkos to take it forward further. Thank you, Darkos. You can move forward now.
Thank you very much. First of all, I hope my sound is okay. And if it's not, please do let me know. I have to apologize for two things right off the bat. Number one, apparently my video doesn't work. It was working for a moment. I tried to rejoin. I don't know what's wrong. So unless it starts working, just trust me, I am here right now. I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at the camera. And the second thing is I, by mistake, left the old title on my presentation. So what Ragda read was infrastructure as code. Now, that's not the topic of today. It's actually, how can we help you work remotely? So that was a small slide on my part. But I hope this is also interesting for you. So today, we're going to be talking about working remotely, or how can AWS or how can AWS services help you work remotely. So we have a couple of offerings, a couple of things that might make your life, a bit better. We're all stuck at home. Maybe we're looking for tools to kind of increase productivity. Maybe a place where we can host all our documents. Maybe how can we exchange email, or maybe even, collaborate on code, right? So let's see what kind of services we have and what kind of tools can you utilize to help this all better. Here's the agenda for today. I'm going to be talking about challenges of remote working, talking a bit about desktops and apps in the cloud, and I'm going to kind of end it all up with coding and pairs, or basically how can your developers have, let's say, a better set of tools for pair programming, or in general having a very dynamic and remote development environment. So the first question of the day, and we all know what this current situation is, what are the challenges of remote working, right? What kind of things have we seen? I really wish I could be there in person so I can, look at you all and ask you in person, what's the challenge of you working at home? But then we wouldn't be working remotely, right? So we all love our office, right? I miss my office. My job, unfortunately, doesn't necessarily state me in an office all the time. I mostly spend my time at airports, but still, I love to go to the office. It's not just about the ability to work there; it's also about being with other people, or the coffee is maybe better in work at work as well than you have at home. So we all miss those things, but sometimes the biggest thing we miss is all the tools we have there, right? The computer. Okay, we all have laptops, but VPN is not the best thing in the world. Maybe some local tooling is something we're missing as well. But at the same time, we all love home office. I love sitting at home. I wish I could show you my current setup. I'm very proud of my home office here in Germany, and it's so very cozy. It's very nice. It's very pleasant. I can I can spend most of my time working in my pajamas, which is pretty cool. But I am missing a lot of tools. I could do more things to be more productive. Since everybody now is sitting on VPN, VPN is not what it used to be, right? So it's a bit slower. It's a bit more, not as fast as I would like it. And especially with me traveling a lot, having remote tools or good enough remote tools for proper working should be a priority. And it's not just today, but in general, like these are facts from 2018. One of the things we have noticed is that there are a few macro trends driving how we think about end user computing, or basically remote working. One of the things we've seen, like 65% of employees say they'd be more productive with a more flexible work policy. What does that flexible work policy means? It means that your employees, developers, engineers, anybody, would like to have the ability to work from home, right? And even 43% of employees actually worked from home back in 2018. And you can imagine this number just spiking up even more and more. And back in 2018, we had around 16 million people in the gig economy, or basically contractors and freelancers. So that in essence means you are working remotely. There is no office. So one of the things that needs to keep up with is technology. So we want to have a look at some technology solutions or offerings that can actually help us adopt this way of work. And especially in the last 3 months, right? So, show of hands, how many people here have actually sat home and worked, right? So, and how many of us have actually looked for better tooling that can help us in this world? And it's not just the way of working, but also business changes faster, right? Business moves faster. Here's the two numbers which do not make a lot of sense out of the bat, but the average age of a Fortune 500 company, so the company in the top 500 ones, is only 20 years. Back in 1950, this was 60 years. So the companies are younger, they're moving faster, new companies are popping up and coming into the Fortune 500 really, really fast. So besides just the ability to have your employees and engineers and workers be remote, we also need to provide them with all the latest technology and all the tools they would need to kind of keep up with this fast pace of change. Now, I used to work in IT. Right? I started my job as a person supporting desktop users. And we had a lot of these things, right? So when it comes to modern approach to work, that presents a lot of challenges to IT. It's fine if you have all of your people in a single office. You just have a whole bunch of computers connected to a Windows, Microsoft domain. Everybody has their applications provisioned, and wabam, that works really good. You don't have to care about VPNs. You don't have to care about, you have to care about less about security. Everybody's device is the same, but things change when we move to a more remote approach. So application management is complex, right? Imagine everybody having their own laptop, and a lot of companies actually support this thing called a BYOD, or bring your own device. So I bring them my own personal laptop, say, hey, I wish to use this one as my work laptop, make it work, right? So managing applications and settings and configurations across a plethora of devices might be problematic. Imagine if a user does not want to use a laptop. They are more flexible with a tablet. How can we enable all of them application access to the tablet, or even phones, right? So we have these big phones now. I mean, I have a have a Samsung Galaxy S10 that you can plug into a keyboard and monitor and use it as a desktop, right? So we have people who want to be ultra mobile, but we want to provide them with a good experience. We don't want these kind of hodgepodge solutions to work or force people to use something when they don't have to, because there are solutions out there. There are ways we can address remote working in a proper, secure, scalable, and at the end of the day, a fun way to do it. Now, before we continue, who am I? Who am I and why should you care? Like I was talking to you for the last 5-10 minutes. Who is this person talking? Well, that's me. My name is Darko Mesaros. I am a developer advocate, worked for AWS. I've been working for AWS for the past 4 years, a bit more than 4 years. I've started off in premium support way back in Dublin, moved on from premium support to becoming a solution architect in Germany, then becoming a specialist solution architect for management tools. And now I'm a developer advocate. So I talk to you, engineers, IT managers, developers in general, about how can we make your life better within AWS, right? So I'm currently based in Berlin, Germany, but originally I am from Serbia. So hence the different kinds of spellings of names. Also, fun fact about me is I've changed 5 countries in the last 7 years. So been quite of a run. So yeah, and feel free to add me on all the social medias if you want. I try to spam people a lot every day. All right, so let's move on to the main event, or actually, what are we going to talk about today? Also, I promise I'm going to be doing demos. It's not just going to be slides. I'm going to use slides to kind of illustrate what I want to talk about, but I'm going to actually dive into the console as soon as possible. All right, so how can we actually increase the day-to-day productivity of your workforce, of your engineers, of your developers, right? Well, the better question here is, how can we make the experience better, right? It's not just about productivity, it's also about experience. Well, there's a few tools and solutions out there that actually might make you and your person using these services or these things they need to use just a little bit better. So let's talk about these. So there are these, what we like to call end user computing services, right? So in AWS, they're called end user computing. Instead of powering some big old websites or databases, these services are actually there to directly empower your end users, right? And those services or tools are, well, we have Amazon Workspaces. It's a desktop in the cloud, right? Imagine that. AppStream application. So this is similar to Workspaces, but instead of having desktop in the cloud, you can have just a application in the cloud. It's basically a way to stream applications back to your users, right? WorkLink, I think it's the latest service when it comes to end user computing. So it's a service that basically provides your employees secure one-click access to those lovely corporate intranet sites, right? And you can use them using web apps or mobile phones. So it's pretty neat when you want to do something like that. And last but not least, WorkDocs is, I think, one of the oldest services when it comes to end user computing. It's basically a document management system sitting in the cloud where you can kind of manage, collaborate on documents, and also, well, share them across your entire organization, right? So together, all of these services help your end users get the job done right on any device, anywhere, and hopefully securely, and most of all, quickly. So let's talk about desktops in the cloud. So this is the first on the list. Now, this is not a new thing. I've actually worked in a company 10 years ago where we used to do this. Now, back then, it was not the cloud. It was a data center, or it was a small room in our corporate building where we would have a bunch of servers, I believe back then running Citrix. And Citrix, we would basically stream desktops to users' workstations, right? So it's not something that's relatively new, but having them in the cloud makes them that much better, right? So having a virtual desktop on premises, it's great, but if you have them on the cloud, that in essence means you can do it anywhere, right? So the goal of Amazon Workspaces is to basically give users anywhere, anytime access to company data, right? And your applications using your favorite device. And when I say your favorite device, I actually have a bunch of colleagues that use iPads. They completely have given up on Windows or Macs. They just use iPads for access to workspaces, and they can do everything on the workspaces, well, as long as they have an internet connection. Now, besides giving this the freedom to the users, and we all love to give freedom to the users as long as it's not overstepping some boundaries, but with workspaces, you can actually give this freedom to the users while still having the ability to maintain this data security, reduce complexity, and, well, at the end of the day, improve user productivity by offering them the right tools at the right time. So, and I'll actually show you how this all works in the console in a couple of minutes. So how do we actually resolve this tension? So your business needs are basically, you need to work from any device, anywhere, we all like to travel. You need to have instant access to applications and data. You have to be innovative and agile, right? All the things, all the buzzwords. But the IT part, so the folks actually building these need to secure data and control access to that data. The IT also wants to enable user productivity, absolutely, but IT also wants to reduce complexity and costs because, a complex system is an expensive system. So here, what we have is the cloud. And cloud, in this sense, works for a lot of the things, but especially in this case. So what happens here is that we can give access to, well, as I will keep repeating myself, but access to any resource, anywhere, on any device. You can actually scale with your changing workforce. Instead of provisioning new desktops and laptops, you can provision cloud desktops and, well, workstations, right? This, in essence, gives you innovation. If somebody needs another laptop to work something differently, to work on a different project, or, sorry, if somebody needs a new desktop to work for another project, you can just basically spin up an additional workstation or workspace for this person to work on it. Improving security and control, again, you have the absolute control of how these workstations are provisioned, where they are located, what's running on them. Nobody wants that little rogue laptop running around somewhere and somebody stealing them, right? For example, we all have encryption on our laptops, right? Because we keep important company assets on our laptops. But if your desktop is sitting in the cloud, your laptop is just a funnel towards that data. The data is not actually present on the laptop. So even if your laptop gets stolen or something happens to it, you don't have to worry because the data is still in the cloud. Again, increasing user productivity, this just kind of boils down to the fact that, hey, I can work from anywhere on my laptop and at any time I want. And with the simplification of a lot of different things, such as having a single point of configuration and a single point of distribution of these applications, it's simple. It lowers down the cost and it makes the folks in IT lives much better. And finally, that's workspaces, right? So secure desktop clouds. So these are clouds or desktops running in the cloud. Basically, there's a couple of options. You can use either Windows or Linux. You can also provision desktops that are basically graphics instances that have powerful GPUs. So if you want to do some CAD work, or even if you want to play games, you can technically play games on Amazon Workspaces. I know people who done it. You can quite simply deploy them and manage them. It's a push button solution where you can just click a button and provision a desktop for a person and tear it all down once that person is not using it anymore. And that's actually the point. It's a pay as you go. So you literally pay for the amount of time that desktop is running. And as long as that person is not using it, even in the evenings, that desktop goes down and you don't have to pay for it anymore. So pretty cool, right? And who uses these? Well, we see a lot of people, especially modern organizations, they're completely replacing their virtual desktop environment, especially if you have a global workforce. Deploying laptops to people on the other side of the world, it's not the easiest thing in the world, right? So I come from a Eastern European country, and if you work with somebody from United States, sometimes getting hardware inside a specific piece of hardware can be difficult. So having an ability to just use a desktop wherever and whenever is pretty good, right? Also, it's great for project work because if you have your freelancers, your project workers, instead of provisioning them actual hardware, you can provision them workspaces where they can actually work on your network through this magical desktop in the cloud. And it's secure, right? So if you have some very specific security and compliance applications, so for example, I mentioned not keeping data on your laptop. So if there are some very specific and highly secure things you want to keep off your laptop, just in case it does not get stolen, keeping it in a workspace might be a better solution because, again, it just stays there. It does not travel outside of your network in any moment, right? As soon as you disconnect your laptop of a VPN, the laptop is off your network, and workspaces never go off your network. So pretty cool. But actually, enough of me talking. Let's try to see this in action. I am going to try to bring up something here. Let me just see what is the best way for me to do it, because I want to show you my screen like that. Excellent. So I need to look at the other monitor. So let's have a look at AWS Workspaces, or Amazon Workspaces. Actually, they're named Amazon Workspaces. So to get to Workspaces, you basically just go to the web console, type Workspaces, and it will bring you to this console. Now, one thing I need to clear up: in order to use Workspaces, you need to have a directory, right? You need to have an active directory. In a sense, you don't have to have a proper, Microsoft Active Directory. There's also simple ADs, which are kind of services from AWS that allow you to simply launch an Active Directory-like service on an LDAP directory locally on AWS. So you can use that. That is required because of user management, user permissions, and all of those things. So because what you do here, you actually deploy workspaces per user, right? So how does that work? Let me actually show you how to launch a workspace. So I pick my directory where I'm going to run this workspace at. Click next. I'm actually going to create a user, and I'm going to call him Bob. Robert Fatomi. There you go. And I'm going to give him an email. I'm going to actually give him my name. And go. So I've created a user called Bob. If I do Bob, search for Bob, you will see there is a Bob user in my directory. So what I have done right now is I have created a user in this directory called, Nakatomi Plaza, and that's a simple AD running within my AWS account. So I've selected this user. I'm going to add it to this workspace and click next. And this is where you actually pick which size of a workspace you want. So you can go from anything super small, such as 2 GB with one vCPU. You can go all the way crazy with this Graphics Pro instance with 122 gigabytes of RAM and 16 vCPUs. Plus, it runs a graphics card. I believe they run NVIDIA Teslas or something like that. So they run actual graphics cards that are required for you to do something like CAD work. Also, it's not just Windows. It's also Linux, so you can do Linux as well. So instead of just launching Windows, you can also pick Amazon Linux to have a proper Linux desktop. So for example, let me choose this one, right? I go here, click next. There's a couple of running modes. There's always on, and that's a kind of a fixed monthly price per workspace. So this one will run whole month, 24/7, and you'll have a fixed price for it. But with the auto stop one, is basically billed by the hour. And if you do not use your workspace for 1 hour, it's going to go into standby, or it's going to basically not be charged. It's going to shut down. It's going to stop, but you're not going to be charged for it. So it's a great way to save some money on this as well. You can also encrypt your volumes because we all want security, so you can encrypt both root and the user volume. You can manage some tags. And this is kind of like this is a summary review, and once I click launch, it should all launch. Now, I already have reached a limit on the workspaces I can have on my account. That can be changed with just increasing the limit. But one of the things I want to note, it takes like 20 minutes for an instance to launch. So it's quite a while. So thanks to some cooking show magic, I already have some instances prepared here. I have both Windows and a Linux instance prepared. And actually, let me show you how this all works. So there's actually a client. It's a little desktop application. Now it can also be a web application. There's a version for your browser. There's a version for your Android tablet, for your iPad. So you can use them in a lot of different places. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to log in as Darko to one of my workspaces. If this works, it's launching a session. Now, one thing I need to note from a technical perspective, this is not remote desktop. Well, it is, but it's not. So it's not RDP. So it doesn't use Microsoft RDP. It actually uses PC over IP, which is a different protocol. And essentially, it can provide better performance on some things. And there's actually a new protocol we're working on. It's currently in beta, but that one should be even better. So, and this is what you see. It's a desktop in the cloud. I have my lovely Firefox browser here. As you can see, if I go here, it's a big old Windows instance. Now it's Windows 10, but it's not. It's actually Windows Server. But yeah, it's a 8-core CPU with 32 gigs of RAM. You have your user profile disk here as well, and all the things you would need to kind of start working. And this bundle actually comes with Office included as well. Now you can actually save on price if you bring your own licenses. So if you bring your own Office licenses and you bring your own Windows licenses, so this is where the prices can drop a bit as well. Oh, by the way, one of the things I want to mention, I have not mentioned when I started. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A part, and I'm gonna be answering them after. Well, I'm finished with my soapbox thing. Okay. So this is a little neat Windows box, and it's very useful. Let me actually show you a neat thing. Let me show you Linux. Linux is great. If I just use a different user here, a different user has a different instance type or a different workspace assigned to them. So secure password. Let's see if this works. There we go. It's a Linux workstation. So it is a fully fledged Linux capable. It's an Amazon Linux running Mate as the desktop environment. Yeah, and it just works. You can do all the things you want here, and yeah, do Htop work. It's not installed, but it's a proc CPU info. It's running on a Intel 8-core thing. Yeah, so it's a proper Intel it's a proper Linux desktop where you can do all the things you want. Excellent. Now, one more thing I want to also share about workspaces. It's not just pure desktops in the cloud. There's also a few other things you can do here to kind of help you around with it. One of the things, you can manage your applications. So what does that mean? In essence, instead of just provisioning workspaces as there are to your users, you can also deploy applications together with your workspaces. So for example, I have Putty here as an application, and I can deploy this application to a user. So I say I can assign this application to, if I go here and I'll search for Darko, and I'll say, yep, Darko has Putty. Darko needs to have Putty installed. Click like that, review and confirm and assign. Now, Darko will have Putty available to him. Now, it's not available out of the box. So what Darko needs to do is Darko path. It. Like that. There you go. What happens here when I log in as this user is that I will have the ability to actually install these applications by myself. So as you can see, it has resumed my last session like that. If I go to Amazon WAM, which is Workspaces Application Manager, and I refresh this, hopefully, yeah, we can see that Putty is available for me to install. So now basically Workspaces will install this application for me. And there you go. Putty will be available now from, well, it's here. There you go. Well, and that's kind of in a nutshell, Workspaces. Now, there are a few things you need to take care of. I believe until like 15th of June, there's a free tier available. Up to 50 users you can have on Workspaces. Now, Amazon has said that in the current situation, we have given you the ability to use Workspaces for free, up to 50 users until the 15th of June, right? So if you want feel free to check that out. The only cost that you might incur is the cost of a directory running within your account. So if you use Simple AD, there's a certain cost to Simple AD per month. All right, going back to this, not this, but this. Excellent. That's very cool. So what about streaming applications? You saw me show you how you can stream a desktop. So you might think to yourself, yeah, Darko, that's nice. It's remote desktop. That's all great. We already seen that. We have that. I don't want a desktop. I want applications. I have a desktop. I have a laptop working. I just want you to give me my corporate applications. Well, we have AppStream. Or AppStream is a platform or a service that allows our customers or yourself to deliver applications. So it's a fully managed application streaming service that delivers desktop applications to any computer without even having to rewrite them. So it uses basically your browser as a platform for your application. So it's secure, right? It goes all over HTTPS and 443, right? You can centrally manage these applications. You can have specific application versions deployed to specific users. Again, very similar to the way we had it in the previous example. You can integrate with existing IT. Again, there's integrations with Active Directory, with all the existing compliance and management tools, and also you can scale without infrastructure because it leverages the power of the cloud to deploy applications and to deploy your infrastructure for such thing. Now, in essence, it's very similar to workspaces, but you'll see what is the kind of a difference. And in essence, who uses this? We see a lot of people, right? So we have business applications. So it's not just, you will not probably use Putty like this or Firefox, but you will use your line of business application, right? Or even just a corporate browser that has access to a specific intranet page. You can do this for 3D design and engineering. There's also ability to give your streamable apps performance that you can do some CAD work from your browser, right? And also, if you're like a software vendor or an educational institution, you can do this to deliver demos, trials, and even create things such as computer labs and enable distance learning. So this is a great chance for you, if you're an educational organization, to provide, let's say, programming environments to your students and such things. But we'll get into programming a bit later. Now, that's all I had to say about streaming applications, or actually, that's all I had to show you on my slide deck. But actually, let me show you in action of AppStream. So if I go to AppStream, Amazon AppStream, again, the same way. So just search for AppStream 2.0. It's called AppStream 2.0 for some reason. And what I've done here is I've created an example stack. Now, a stack is where you deploy your applications. This is where you deploy your configuration settings, control of the access to those resources. This stack runs on a fleet, and the fleet is basically just a bunch of EC2 instances or virtual machines running in the backend that host your applications. Images are application images that you can stream or basically think of them as bundles of applications like I showed you last time. And also users, you can have, now AppStream for some reason does not require you to have a directory. You can use a directory for this, but you can also create local users here. And let me try to give you an example how this looks. I had my browser open somewhere, the other window. So I've created this user, Darko, right? And I've given that user basically access to an application. That user then gets something lovely like this. So let me just, I'm looking at the other screen now because I need to copy paste something. So what I get here is, let me open up an incognito window. I get the URL and I need to log in. All right. So once I've logged in to AppStream, I have access to these applications. Now, this is just an example stack. These have some sample applications, nothing too special, but it gives me access to these applications. So like if you need the power of the cloud to run Notepad++, you can do that. So as you can see, the only thing it needs a HTML5 compatible browser that can basically run these applications. So it's loading your application, it's loading your application settings, all of that is saved within your account. So once you relaunch this, all of this will be available to you as well. And then once it starts, there we go. It has access to your keyboard, Epson, like you can just do all of these things. You can do some more important things such as like running Eclipse. Again, it kind of provides you with a very simple desktop-like experience, but it is not a desktop in essence. It's just streaming these applications. There's unfortunately no way to kind of move this away from the browser, but it was essentially built for the browser. And another interesting thing, you're not just limited to this. You can do this lovely thing. Where is it? Yeah. So I have a second desktop now. So this black screen that you see here is my second desktop. So if I do this and I just move it like so and open up here and I look at my second desktop and well, bam, I have a second screen running my notepad. So in essence, you can open up, no matter how many monitors you have, you can just full screen these things like that and have your applications running on multiple monitors and don't even have to worry about the desktops. So that's AppSync. Again, a lot more possibilities here as well, a lot more things you can do as well on AppStream, but it's a great, neat way to stream applications quick and fast. So, and most of the things I see here is for your line of business applications or even the Office suite, or even just a browser that has specific access to some of resources running within the cloud. So pretty neat. Back to this. Just quickly, let's talk about corporate intranet. And this is, we all love this corporate intranet, right? When you get this message from your colleague and you're just on your way home from work and he says, oh, please check out this link. It's very important. And you look at it and it's a corporate website. It's an intranet little link. And then you have to do this whole dance of pulling your laptop out, tethering it to a phone, connecting to VPN, then the VPN doesn't work, then you try again, and then VPN works, and bam, okay, you have access to your website. There must be a better way for this to work, right? There is. It's called Amazon WorkLink. Now, WorkLink gives you secure mobile access to your internal websites and web apps. Now, when I say mobile, it's not necessarily a mobile phone. It gives you basically access through any web application to some of your corporate websites. Basically, it wraps your corporate websites or resources into this application that can be delivered to your users, right? So it's very simple. So instead of having to provide your users VPN access or exposing a specific website, internet website to the internet, you can just provide them the same functionality through WorkLink, right? So in essence, it enables your users to instantly access these internal corporate websites through Chrome or Safari or any HTML-based browser or their mobile phones, essentially, right? So, and they have all the experience they would have through anything else. So pretty cool. And how do you do this? Especially when it comes to regulated industries, things that cannot go outside of intranet, right? Intranet, so you can have specific applications still sitting inside of your intranet and being only accessible through WorkLink, having mobile workers, giving third-party access to your applications, business application access, Jira and Confluence when you need to access that dashboard outside of VPN. There we go. Wikis, trainings, and especially if you have people who bring their own devices, it's a really great way to kind of give them access to a lot of different things. Okay. Let's talk about documents. Documents everywhere. We have so many documents. Where do you store your documents? Do you back up your documents? Do you version control your documents? How does somebody give you feedback on that lovely 6-page Word document that you wrote? Well, there's a lot of solutions out there, but I like to talk about one of the coming from Amazon or AWS. It's called Amazon WorkDocs, and I'm actually gonna have the ability to show you this. So in essence, WorkDocs is a document management system that is a secure content store for all of your documents. So it enables you global access. So it's not just internally locked to your account or your VPN. You can access them through a browser, to a client application. It can integrate with existing IT in a sense that it can work with your existing domains and permissions and all those things. And also it has an SDK where you can kind of administer documents or upload documents through some third-party applications or through your own applications using the SDK. Pretty cool. Again, it's a very neat way to store content in the cloud. It gives you collaboration tools, such as, I mentioned that a feedback utility. So if somebody wants to comment on your document, it's very easy to do it through workdocs. In essence, workdocs replaces those nasty network shares, right? And network share, at least on Windows, were always problematic. If you jump off a network, then they completely disconnect, then you come back, it doesn't work all the time. So this will actually replace that. And it kind of looks like that lovely Google Drive application because it syncs the content to your laptop and then pulls it back once you make changes. So it's pretty cool. And if you use workspaces, actually you get 50 gigabytes of free workdoc for any workspace user. So if you have users that use workspaces, they automatically get workdocs 50 gigabytes free for anybody. So pretty cool. And I'll actually show this to you now. I think if I can do this. Show you this to you again if with the same user here, and I'll show you how workspaces looks like. Also, I can show this directly. I have workspaces installed on my corporate laptop, so we use it internally. So go down. We can see that I have workdocs in my documents. Actually, no, like that. Users, Darko, workdocs. You can see that I have this important document written here, right? It's a Word document written by me, right? And if I go here, I can see it actually in the cloud. So if I open up workdocs in the Firefox browser, I get something like this. So it's, again, a collaboration utility where I can actually view the document. You can also edit it if you have the companion app installed. But what's important is I can do this, and I can do some feedback and say, like this, mark this is not good, and then add feedback, right? So it's a really neat tool, and especially even us internally in AWS, we use this tool for internal collaboration. We like to write a lot of documents, so if you want to have a lot of people read your documents and give you feedback, this is a really neat way to do it. And again, it's just so cool with this application that syncs your documents from workdocs to your local workstation. It works just seamlessly. All right, I think that's enough of these kind of tools, and I bet a lot of you are developers here or engineers, so you maybe would like to see something more or something up your alley. Let's talk about how can we code remotely, or how can we run remote coding with Cloud9. So I'll get into what Cloud9 is, but I want to just talk about a couple of developer pain points. So developers that are building for the cloud are usually using their own local machine. And sometimes replicating the things you have locally to the cloud can be a bit more problematic. And setting up the development environment with permissions, with all the things, all the tooling you need to kind of work with the cloud can be a problem. And when you have people working remotely, people who have never seen each other in person, you want to give those developers a way to kind of collaborate together. And I know as a developer, we tend to be sometimes introverted, not talk to a lot of people, but we need to find a way to work together on code. I want to have somebody look at my code and say, yeah, this is what you need to change. And I want to see it in real time, right? And especially when working with serverless, the current gen IDEs, and I'm talking about IDEs, not text editors, have not caught up to all the needs of serverless applications. So what we made in AWS is we have Cloud9. It's a built for the cloud browser-based IDE. Now, I know it's a browser-based IDE, but trust me, it doesn't suck as much as it sounds. It works really good, and I'll show you. So it works out of the box with a lot of AWS tooling. It has this very simple permission management, and I'll show you that. It actually picks up your user permissions. All of the user permissions you have, it picks them up and uses them locally. So really cool. It's excellent for serverless development. So if you do things such as serverless applications, it has tools built in to help you develop and debug and troubleshoot serverless applications. And it also gives you the ability to do this thing called pair programming, right? So in essence, it gives you the ability to code with just your browser, right? You can really quickly start up a new project. And actually, this morning, I showed a little code snippet on Twitter and LinkedIn. I shared stating how you can, in like a couple of lines of CloudFormation, you can launch a Cloud9 environment with your existing code already on it and start coding in minutes. Literally just spin it up, do something, and tear it down. You can code together in real time. This is the concept of pair programming. You can have multiple people coding on the same document at the same time. So, okay, Darko, code me some serverless, right? I'm glad you asked. Let me move to this screen. Yes. So, actually, let me show you. This is Cloud9. So to create an environment on Cloud9, just create an instance, give it a name, saying this is my editor, right? Next step. In essence, Cloud9 runs on an EC2 instance within your AWS account. So I'm telling it here, hey, you know what? Create me an EC2 instance running Amazon Linux, or you can choose Ubuntu. Please turn it off after 30 minutes so it doesn't spend money. You can also specify some specific roles if you want. Next step, and that's it. You click launch and you get something lovely like this. So what is this? Well, it's an editor. It's a lovely text editor, or it's an IDE, I must say, that works fully in your browser. And it's not just that, it's also a Linux instance. So if I, Htop, or it doesn't, sudo yum install Htop, will install, it's a general Linux instance with all the bells and whistles you need to do some application development on it. So it supports a lot of AWS tools out of the box. So like CDK is present, right? I believe CDK is installed. Yeah, CDK should be installed. Yeah, and there's also SAM installed. Yeah, AWS S3LS or AWS CLI is installed. So there you go. It has all of these tools, but what's great also, it actually picks up, it picks up my users, or Darko, which you can see, or it's actually Bob, sorry, it's Bob. It picks up Bob's permission, all the permission that Bob has to AWS, all of those permissions are translated to me actually running all the commands here. So I don't have to do any, dance with setting up local AWS configuration files or something like that. It takes all the permissions coming from the user Bob, in this case, to here. Right? And I mentioned serverless. So let me talk about serverless. So one of the great things here about, you can actually manage serverless applications, or you can manage Lambda functions. So if I see here, these are all the Lambda functions existing on my AWS account. So to create a new Lambda function, what I can do here is click on this little button, call it hello Lambda function. For one, because I'm not sure, do I have it already or not? So next, I will use just Node.js, an empty Node.js template. Function triggers, I'll just use nothing in this case. Click API, role, next, wabam. I have everything here for my Lambda function. So I have the template that will create my Lambda function using serverless or SAM. And also I have this lovely little piece of code where it's just a boilerplate of a Lambda function. And here's an example of a Lambda function I started working on this morning. It's actually just a sample Lambda function that does nothing, just tells you the time. So I've done this. I've saved my file here. One thing I can do here is on here, I can just click this, and it's going to deploy my Lambda function to AWS. Simple as that. And on top of this, you can do a lot more things. You can well, once this is done, you can actually run your Lambda functions locally. So if I do things like, so it has been deployed. So if I can do, like that. I can run local. So let me actually, I need to find a little piece of code that I have sitting somewhere. Where is it? I need to paste something in. There we go. So I just take this and I do this like that, and I hit the run button, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it runs the application. There we go. It has status code 200. It has successfully returned something to me. So this function has, in essence, been run locally, quote unquote, locally, on this editor within Cloud9, right? I didn't have to do anything. I could just basically test my code locally like this. And additionally, if you want to do some more additional things, you can actually do the full-on debugging, like the breakpoint step through code debugging like you used to do in the age of C++ and Java and those things. You can debug your applications by setting breakpoints on certain things inside of your code. Like, for example, do I have this thing here? Like the callback, I could set a breakpoint here, then run my debug function through this entire thing and see how it works. That's not all. One of the other features I mentioned is you can actually share this environment. So if I call a user called Grumpf, I have a user in AWS called Grumpf, and I have given Grumpf permission to access my website. So if I open this, open up new window, and let's imagine my name is Grumpf, and I go here, and I need to do one more thing. I need to get me my passwords, right, like that. And let me copy this. I am user, like that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm logging as my other user called Grumpf. Sign in. It's incorrect. That's just lovely. Or maybe I need to change the password. Or actually, let me make this simpler. Share it with I know one user here called Darko. I'll invite Darko. Come on, invite Darko, please. Cool. So once again, application information is incorrect. Aha, I know why. I've actually changed my password. Well, bam. Now, what's happening is I'm logging in as Darko to the same editor, and you can see that Bob sees that Darko is here as well. So if I open up, I can see that Bob is here, and so open me Bob's active file, and I can see that Bob is actually on this current line. So if I go here, then Bob will in essence see that Darko is on this line right now. So I can actually pair programs. So it's very difficult to show in this single screen like this. But if I move it like this and keep you can see this, right? I am adding comments. Right? So you can see that the things being changed here somewhere wherever it is. Right, there you go. So this has been added by a new user, Darko. Pretty cool, right? I think this is a very neat utility, and not a lot of people seen this, especially initially. And I think this is a great way to kind of quickly spin up a development environment for people to collaborate on. And once you no longer need it, you can just tear it down. I use this personally on a bunch of different projects because instead of having to manage multiple different packages locally, coming from Node versions to even Python versions to Python packages, I can just have all of my development tools sitting in this little box in the cloud. And especially because I have my laptop, I have a couple of laptops, I have a desktop. So if I can change my workstation, no matter where I'm sitting in, I can actually use that tool like any other. So pretty neat. Okay, going back to presentation, and I promise I will be finishing soon. Where is it? There you go. So I know this is what you came for, some takeaways. Or let me actually answer the things. So takeaway number one. So these are the things you should remember. The ability to work remotely has become very crucial, right? Make sure to use the tools or give the people, your workforce, your engineers, your developers, the tools that enables them to do that, right? At the same time, do not compromise on security. Make sure when using such tools, they're all secure and they're all basically secure enough for your use case. And also give the developers the tool, the ability to collaborate with one another. It will increase their productivity quite a bunch as long as they can, well, bang two heads on the same problems together. Now, one thing I don't have here is I'm not sure if people have been having the chance to mention this, but we have the region locally. So you might have seen a little video going up in the beginning with the Bahrain region. So that's the new region within, well, I believe it's the closest one to you. So a lot of services exist there, but some of them do not yet. So please keep an eye on coming services. But it's very important that if you wish to build on the cloud, now you have the ability to do it so in a very close location to you right now. Thank you very much. I will not go again. I will not go yet. I just want to keep on answering your questions. So what I'm going to do right now is
but on the overall, you've been a great audience. It has been overwhelming than we expected in terms of the turnout and the interest that you've expressed in terms of the services that we have presented here. I hope you all had a good session. I hope this was informative and helpful in some way. I would definitely love to thank Darko for taking this up. So between us, feel free to drop your questions back if still your questions are unanswered, and we'll definitely be happy to come back to you with more specific answers to your questions. Yeah, and thank you, Sahad, for organizing this. It's been a big backbone in terms of running the whole show, and the team from Redington, Ragda and Junaid and others who have been basically working out even through holidays and weekends to make sure that this event was happening in the best way possible. So thank you all for joining us today. And if you're still in holidays, please continue and have a great holiday. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darko.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.